I thought you might like seeing the process that we go through to make wood decks at scaledex.com. I happen to be working on the 1/200th Bismarck. Basically, we start with a large uncut sheet of wood like you see here, and then we use a roller cutter as such to cut it to the appropriate size. This one is for sheet 2 of the Bismarck. I have my stop set for just under 9 inches wide. The sheet will be 21 inches long, I believe. And then here we have the printer and the wood blank. We start with a blank sheet of paper up on top, and it runs through the printer and it comes out with this plank pattern on it. Again, this is sheet 3. Actually, this is that 9-inch wide sheet, as you can see. That's going to go over here, and we'll trim the little tail off the top of it, which is scrap. And then the next step is to go over to the light table. And on the light table, I have a cutting. This is for sheets 1 and 2 that's set, and then here's the printed blanks for that. Now these happen to have the historic markings on it. The German swastika from World War II, that's historically accurate, and I make this deck both with and without those markings. Up on the bow section and the anchor raceways, there's an elevated platform, and so the swastika itself isn't formed in one piece on the wood, so you take those two pieces and merge them together. Anyway, I adjust this so I get the piece of wood so it's perfectly lined up over the light box. I'm not going to do that right now, but you can see basically how that works, and that shows me where the cuts are going to go because it's on the underlying sheet of cardstock. Then over here, this is the small cutter, and it happens to be working on the superstructure pieces, port and starboard side pieces on the weather deck, and then a bunch of stuff for the superstructure. You can see it's going. These are the ones that are coming off the printer right now. Going back to the printer, here's another one coming off, getting ready to go. More blank wood, getting ready to be fed into the process there. And then this is the big cutter, and the big cutter happens to be doing sheets 1 and 2 simultaneously. So let's see if I can get a good view of the cutting head working here. And under the logo that's on the lid, but you can see it's cutting through those pieces. The head on this one is kind of unusual. It's got a long brass wand that sticks down, and you might think that's where the cutting is going on, but it isn't. You can see the dot is under a cone-shaped piece. That's where the laser emerges. If you're wondering what the brass wand is, that is actually a touch sensor, and so I can auto-calibrate the height of the cutter from the material on the panel. Well, it's a control panel over there, it doesn't show it, but there's an autofocus function, and it will raise and lower the cutting bed until that touch sensor gets hit, and then it knows how far it is from the material, and then it will lower the bed to the exact appropriate focus height. So a lot of smaller cutters, you raise and lower the head to get the right focus distance. On this particular cutter, it allows me to handle very thin sheets of wood like I have here, or thicker pieces of wood, and it raises and lowers the bed to accommodate the material as opposed to raising and lowering the cutting head. So that's basically the process. So in this case here, you can see the tray where I'm going to line it up. This is a standard honeycomb laser tray underneath. Keeps the laser from blasting directly on the material. It just hits the vertical edge of that. And again, I cover it with cardstock. I cut the pattern. I put the wood on top to get it lined up exactly where I want it to go, using the previously cut pattern as a guide. Put the tray in here with the uncut material on it. Execute the same pattern. It's going to cut right over those holes that were in the cardstock that I lined up with the piece of wood. It puts the holes in the wood where I want it. And this cutter over here again is working on sheet 3, a little bit slower the way that it moves his head as it goes around. And then when I'm done, I get laser cut pieces such as this, and then I take these and I'm going to be inserting them into the packing envelopes, which basically just have a backing sheet in them like so, and then a nice little 6-page instruction booklet with lots of tips and techniques and photos of how it all looks in place. And that is how we go about cutting a wood deck for a model ship, in this case for the Trumpeter 1/200th scale World War II German battleship Bismarck. Big cutter, little cutter, printer, Looks like printer's done. I gotta start working on my next ship, which is probably either going to be the New Jersey or the Yamato for cutting today. Plus we're just wrapping up the 1/200 Titanic. So essential equipment: printer, small cutter number 1, big cutter number 2, roller cutter for cutting the uncut material. There's the uncut sheet, and down under here, that's my wood supply and my cardstock supply and my backing paper for the envelopes. And then here we have all the envelopes in different sizes that I load up. And then when we're done, the product ends up hanging on the hooks like you see here. Let me close the trap door of the printer so you get a better idea. And if you're wondering why I'm just working off these very dim lighting conditions in here, the reason is because over on the light box, when I got to do the precision alignment, I really need to keep that fairly dim in terms of external lighting, so then I can see the light shining through the light box to be able to line up that pattern exactly where I need it to do. If the overhead lights are on, kind of washes that out, makes it a little bit harder to see these lines shining through. So basically I work in a twilight situation to make sure everything's lined up. And that is basically our process as I look now. Big cutter's done, waiting for more material. Little cutter's done, waiting for more material. Printer's done, waiting for more material. And basically total time to produce one of these Bismarck decks, not counting the roller cutter work and packaging and instruction printing and all that, just the actual cut. And you got to mount all the wood, but I can overlap. So I mount the next one while the cutter's running normally instead of shooting a video and talking about it. But production time to do a run of all 3 sheets for the Bismarck is probably just about 6 minutes, give or take. And there we go. That's how we make wood decks at ScaleDecks.com.